Welcome to my Wild Foods video. I chose to focus on the Dungeness crab, for which the scientific name is Cancer magister, but also Metacarnissus magister. The Mahoussat people called crabs hasamats, while the Coast Salish called them hihik. The people of Port Simpson called Dungeness crabs galmoose. Here is the habitat of the Dungeness crab. This video was taken at Point Whitehorn at low tide, and luckily I was able to spot a crab in its shallow waters. The Dungeness crab typically spans from the Aleutian Islands in Alaska all the way to Santa Barbara, California. Young Dungeness crabs tend to live in estuarine areas and like to hide behind protective structures. Older crabs usually live in eelgrass beds or sandy bottom areas. They can bury themselves in the sand with only their eyes peeking out. Their colors range from yellowish brown to purple. The crab has 4 pairs of walking legs and a pair of claws with light-colored hooked tips and serrated teeth. The Dungeness crab can weigh up to 4 pounds, and the carapace, or shell, widths of mature Dungeness crabs may reach 10 inches, but are typically around 6 to 7 inches. Dungeness crabs have a wide, long, hard shell, which they must periodically molt to grow. Male crabs mate only with female crabs that have just molted. Fertilization of the egg does not occur at the time of mating. The female crab stores the sperm until her eggs are fully developed. The eggs are fertilized when the female extrudes them under her abdomen, where they are carried until hatching. A large female crab can carry 2.5 million eggs. The male crabs are polygamous. Each male crab may mate with more than one female crab. This may be an important factor in maintaining the reproductive viability of these species because only male crabs can be harvested in commercial and personal use fisheries. There are many factors that could influence the overall health of the Dungeness crab as a species. These include climate change, ocean acidification, overharvesting, and toxics. Pollution is particularly of concern, as PCBs, DDTs, PAHs, and PBDEs were detected in crab populations in the Puget Sound. Mercury, arsenic, copper, and zinc were the most frequently detected metals in the Dungeness crab. Metal concentrations were relatively evenly distributed through all marine areas and urban embayments of the Puget Sound, meaning that wherever the crabs come from, they will have metal pollution. However, mercury was the only metal that occurred in significantly greater levels in urban crabs. The contaminant concentrations in the crab butter, or hepatopancreas, of the Dungeness crab were as much as 36 times greater than their muscle tissue. I had the privilege of visiting the Lummi Bay Seafood Company as they got a new shipment of Dungeness crabs. You can see the employee check to make sure the crabs are all males by looking at the bottom of their shells for a pointy underside marking. It is important to only catch male crabs, and before doing so, obtain a license through the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife online site or a sporting goods store. Also make sure to follow the crabbing regulations on the WDFW website, which includes reporting your catch at the end of the year. They can be harvested year-round depending on the area and regulations. Check the information via the website in the description below this video. I chose to make Dungeness crab sushi, beginning with 2 live crabs I bought. I began by putting them in the freezer to slow them down before killing them. I left them there for 30 minutes and then got to work on the shell, being sure to give it a swift whack on his belly on the side of my counter until he went limp. Then, I pulled their legs free from their shells by twisting the legs away from the carapace. Next, it was time to clean the guts from the crab, making sure to leave only the meat in order to remove potential toxins. I then steamed them for 14 minutes on high heat. After, it's time to remove the meat. This is done by pulling the legs from the body and cracking the shell to reveal the meat inside. It can be very time-consuming, but you will have to carefully pick out the meat from each leg in order to get it all out. You can actually use the pincer of the crab to get out any meat stuck inside each individual leg. If available, I would recommend grabbing a few friends and embarking on the process together to save time. Once the meat was all picked from the crab, don't forget to save the shells. They can be used later to create crab stock or even crab fertilizer for your garden. Freeze them until you need to use them. To go along with my sushi, I decided to use some malaria I had foraged to make some miso soup. I began by roughly cutting the 5-foot piece into smaller pieces and adding it to 16 cups of water to make a broth. I then brought the water to a boil and took the alaria out afterwards. Next, I added 3 packages of bonito flakes, which are fish flakes, and took it off the heat. After 5 minutes, I strained the flakes out using a sieve. Next, I added a 1.5 cups of white miso to the mix and let it simmer. While it was doing so, I cut up 2 packages of silk tofu as a soup filling. I also cut up another 5-foot strip of alaria, this time into smaller pieces to sit in the miso as another filling. I made sure to cut out any parts of the alaria that were bleached by the sun or other kelp. Lastly, I decided to add some enoki mushrooms for a little extra flavor. The miso is now ready to serve, but it can simmer for a bit longer if you'd like. Now it was time to get the fillings for the sushi ready. I cut a whole cucumber into thin, long slices. I also had my friend cut 2 carrots the same way. I then sliced and scooped some mini avocados, but you can use whatever size avocados you'd like. These just happen to be on sale. Next, I put 1/2 cup of mayo and 2 tablespoons of vinegar with the 2 cups of crab meat to make a California roll style filling. Then we had all the ingredients and were ready to go. All my friends switched off rolling sushi, so we all got a chance to participate in making this meal happen. We took sheets of nori, covered them in sushi rice, and then loaded them with fillings. There were also fried onion crisps, sesame seeds, and chopped green onion to add to the rolls. We rolled them by hand, making sure to tightly encircle the fillings in the nori. To seal the nori, use a wet finger on the seam. All that was left to do was to cut the rolls into individual sushi and make as many as we had ingredients for. We ended up running out of the crab filling early, but ended up making tofu seared in oyster sauce for another filling. I served the miso into individual bowls, set the table, and it was time to eat. I am so thankful for my friends and the community we have built through group meals and cooking for and with one another. We all said thank you to the crabs before digging in. The meal was scrumptious and it showed us all the power of wild foods and foraging. Here is a list of all the ingredients I used to make this meal happen. Here are the resources I used to research Dungeness crabs. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new.